Good evening, everybody. This is from India, and for the panelists who are from the US, very good morning to all of you. A warm welcome to our audience. I'm Sudha Kumar. I'm the director of the USC Viterbi India office. I'm based in Bangalore. One of the great things about USC Viterbi, to my mind, has always been how vested we are in the success of our students. And I thought it would be great to kind of feature our USC Viterbi Career Center and the services that we provide to students, because that is one of the great takeaway from coming to USC Viterbi. And joining us today, we have three wonderful panelists. Harshita Kasera, who graduated in 2017, and she graduated from the computer science department and currently works at Google. And she will talk a little bit more in detail in just a little bit. I'm just going to do the brief introductions now, and they can talk more about themselves in just a bit. Shashank Mishra graduated in May 2020, so he just graduated, and he works for Amazon. Candace House Texera is one of our associate deans at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering. She dons a lot of different hats, but one of her priorities is she oversees the Career Center at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering, and we are very lucky to have her because she's a very busy lady. So thank you to all three of you. I know it's a busy time, and I appreciate you taking the time to join us. So before we start, I just wanted to say thank you to the audience for all the questions that came in as part of your registration package. We will try to fold in many of those questions into what presentation that Candace has and what kinds of things that Harshita and Shashank will talk about. But what we will do is any of the questions that are dealing with the topic, that is how to build a career at USC and how to get a job, we will address those questions either towards the end. And if any of you have more questions and you want to submit those in the chat section, we will get to them at the end as well. Again, we will only take the questions which are directly related to the topic today. Yeah. So let me start with Harshita first. Harshita, can you tell us a little bit about your background and your career path so far?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. I'm very excited to be here. My name is Harshita Kasera. So I graduated USC in December 2017. Prior to that, I did my undergrad in India at Vellore Institute of Technology in Information Technology. And I came to USC in fall 2016. I took computer science general, and I was there for 1.5 years. In the summer, I did my internship at LinkedIn, where I found such amazing people that I decided to do my full time there itself. After graduation, from December 2017 to February 2018, I joined LinkedIn. And I have been there since then. Just last week, I switched from LinkedIn to Google. So currently, I'm working at Google. I'm super excited to be here. Feel free to ask any questions later. Yeah, welcome you all.
Thank you. Shashank, how about you?
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for having me here. Nice to see everyone. So I graduated from USC in the May of 2020, so I'm a recent graduate. Prior to USC, I studied computer science in India at Rajasthan Technical University. I think it was a very important step to get my concepts clear in computer science, and that helped me get into the position to enter USC. At USC, I studied computer science. During my time at USC, I interned with Apple. I was in the special projects group with them, understood a lot of new concepts and met some really smart people there. Returning from Apple internship, I joined as a Viterbi Career Ambassador with the Viterbi Careers Connections office and graduated in spring of 2020. And finally decided to join Amazon as a software engineer. And I'm working there now. And it has been an awesome experience till then. Please feel free to ask any questions. Thank you.
Fantastic, Shashank. Yes, and we do have a lot of questions that we will be throwing your way. So now, but before we go to the questions, what I would like is to invite Candace House to actually give us a presentation because that way she will address all the different things that USC does. So I'm going to just try to share her application, her PowerPoint presentation at this point.
Great. Thank you, Sudha.
Yeah.
And as the session is the presentation is being loaded, I would like to share just at the University of Southern California, you have many ways to connect with companies and find job opportunities. So the lens of this presentation is about the Viterbi Career Connections Office. And so that is a career center that's dedicated to engineering students. And as a side note, students will ask, does engineering include computer science? Yes, our School of Engineering does include computer science at USC. So this is what's available at the USC Engineering Career Center. There's also a larger career center for the university that serves everyone. So if you're a electrical engineering major or a history major, they also have events for you. So I'm biased. Our events are definitely targeted. Our companies are knocking on the door because they want the engineering and computer science students, but there's still other options for you at the university. So it's great. They have many avenues to connect. So next slide.
So Candace, are we one of the only universities that has 2 career centers, you think?
It's very interesting. So a number of universities will have a person or an advisor dedicated to different disciplines. It's very unique that we have a center dedicated to the School of Engineering where we have our own career expos, we have our own job postings, we have our own networking events. So we are, and I always say, you never know when I'll get an email and some other universities like, no, we have one too. To my knowledge, we are the only university in the US that has a unique engineering career center. Most of the universities have a large career center with a human dedicated to a discipline area.
Fantastic. Okay, so you're ready to go.
Great. So the lens of the information that you're going to see today is across all of our degree programs in the School of Engineering and what we looked like last year. So 2019, 2020, that is from fall until all the way to July 1st of this year. And who was hiring students that were F1 students. So specifically companies that said, I would like to hire students. We are open to wherever your students are from. We will sponsor. We are ready to hire. So this is the lens. So the numbers of recruitment within the Viterbi School are much higher than actually what I'm sharing with you. I'm really focusing on our F1 student numbers with companies. So in terms of job postings last year, we had 4,500 posting. So these are opportunities that were available to our students. And of course, many of our students, companies will hire multiple students for one posting. So the opportunities are there in terms of postings. Every year we have a career expo in the fall and the spring semesters. It's now called the Career Expo because it used to be a one-day career fair. Now it's a 4-day event. This semester, we just had, and I'm telling you, this is what happens in a pandemic. Last week was the Career Expo, and I almost said a month ago we had that. It was last week we had an expo. It's 4 days, 2 days of career fair, and then we have Trojan Talks. We have coding sessions, anything that a company wants to do to meet with students and evaluate them. And so last year we had 202 unique organizations that were at the Career Expo and hiring our F1 students. Now we also have something called Trojan Talks, which are information sessions that are available. This is when an employer comes to the campus and they spend an hour or so explaining what opportunities they have available, who they're hiring for, and just kind of the vision of what their company is looking for with new employees. So it's almost like that matching. When you interview, you're sharing a lot about yourself. These information sessions are a chance for the company to share information about themselves. And then you have a chance to network and ask questions. And there were 102 of those sessions for our F1 students last year. In terms of actively recruiting, when we pulled the recent data for the year, we had 574 unique organizations hiring our F1 students. And in terms of our students who are pursuing curricular practical training, we had for summer 2019, which is a typical summer, it's a non-pandemic summer, and students are working in company, we had 933 students that summer participate in CPT. And this past summer, we had 768, which it was a drop from the year before, but not that much when I speak to my peers, other peer institutions. The university went completely virtual in March. So that cut that for in-person recruitment that typically happens all the way through May for our students. And it also was a shift for a number of internships. And some of the companies were really nimble and they were able to quickly move into the virtual space, and some needed a bit more time. But we're still happy to know that we had close to 800 of our students still participating in fully remote internships this summer. Next slide. So I'm going to speak about some of the career readiness and events that we have available. I know whenever I do these sessions, everybody wants to know about companies and salaries. And I always say, don't put the cart before the horse. It's a saying here. You have to prepare, you have to engage, you have to network, you have to understand the culture of recruiting on a college campus. So there are many things you could do within the School of Engineering. I'm just going to share with you now. So we have something called Graduate Student Career Readiness Week. So this is a week before the semester starts, when students are moving in a typical year, going to Target, getting things set. This is also a week for you to start to try to understand what you need to do for recruitment. So this is a chance for you to attend large information sessions held by the Career Connections team, as well as small group advising sessions, where it's your chance to just have a discussion and figure out what your plan is. And I'll share with you a little bit more about some of the course plans. But it's very important that you start to think about this as soon as you step foot on a college campus, whether it's USC or anywhere else, because the activities and the recruitment events begin as soon as the semester begins. So what happens, a lot of students are really, you should always focus on classes, because if you don't get the grades, you won't get hired. But you also want to make sure that you're constantly checking in, networking, figuring out when your dream companies, whether it's a Google or an Amazon, when they're coming to campus, so you could start to go to these events. And even early in your career, I don't know if we have any undergraduate people interested in undergraduate, it's important to just listen and learn and hear even what a senior or someone in their final semester might be talking about, because that's where you're going to be in a few years. And it's just being in the room, I think, is really important. And that is something that people always worry about. Oh, I haven't taken any classes yet, or oh, it's only my first semester. It's never too soon to get in the room. They expect to see you there. I did mention that we do have a career expo, but to prepare for all of the things available, we do have something called a boot camp. We realize that our office has an inordinate amount of programming. We have events, and we have a career ambassador here who could talk about this as well. We have event after event all the time. And we also know you're a student. So we have something called the boot camp. It's a one-day multi-sessional event. It usually runs from around 10 a.m. to 4. And it's a boot camp of how to get ready to recruit. This is heavily attended by a lot of our graduate students, a lot of our PhD students. They say, okay, I'm going to leave my lab and come to this one-day event, and hopefully I have a checklist of all the things you need me to do. So I highly recommend the boot camp for a student who just doesn't know what to do. Maybe you didn't attend a readiness week, and you're just trying to learn a little bit more. Next slide.
Okay, and our audience is primarily graduate.
Perfect. So I mentioned workshops. There are a number of workshops. Everything from resume and cover letter preparation. That is one of the first workshops you should go to. If you have just started at USC and you're wondering, I don't have any job experience, I don't think I can go to an event, you need to go to a resume and cover letter preparation discussion. Your resume as a student is your business card. Yes, have a LinkedIn presence, but we have had a number of companies say, it's so interesting, your students don't have paper resumes on them when they come to events. And so we've gone so digital that we still have a lot of our HR representatives and managers that when they meet you and shake your hand, they actually also want to see a dossier of the work you've done. So as a tip, have your LinkedIn, but also have a few copies of your resume just tucked away. So if you have that meaningful conversation and a company asks for it, you could pull it out and give it to them. That is your business card. They don't necessarily want you to email them. They don't want to email you. It's so much work. Your calling card is your resume. So that's the first thing you want to meet about. That's the first thing you're going to go to a workshop about. And that document should evolve every semester because you have new project experiences, you have new leadership experiences in teams. After a year, you'll have an internship experience, you'll have work experience while you're on campus. So that document is a moving, changing, fluid document. It might look different from company to company. It's very important. So make sure you come in for a resume cover letter preparation workshop. Job and internship search. So we have something called Simplicity, where we post our jobs, but we realize that a lot of companies just want you to go to their website, or some companies there's aggregate sites out there. You all know this. So how do you even begin this daunting search? So the job and internship search we go through, networking tips. This is something you're not born learning how to do. It is highly uncomfortable when you are in a room with someone who has experience and is hiring for the company you've always dreamed of working for, and you're in a room full of 50 other people in your degree program, and you're like, how do I stand out? How do I approach this person? I'm holding a drink, I'm eating, what do I do? Go to one of these sessions so you can understand how to ease yourself in, learn about what your elevator pitch is, which is if you have a minute and 30 seconds to talk about yourself, what should you say so you stand out with your peers? So really important. Preparing for the career fair. The career fair, I would say, is the most visible event at any university when it comes to recruiting. It is also the event where students focus all their energy, and that's not where most of the connections are made. It is a huge event. And yes, you'll have a chance to, have your resume, but that meaningful connection is happening at some of these other events. So I mention that not to take away from the fair, but when I meet with a student or someone's like, I haven't really engaged outside of the fair, all I could think of is there are so many amazing connection opportunities at your fingertips that are more valuable, that are more than 5-minute conversations that happen every day of the week. So take advantage of that as well. Interview success. How do you prepare for an interview? As an engineering student, you have multiple types of interviews to prepare for. So of course, a technical interview, but there are behavioral interviews. There are cases and scenarios. So a lot of it has to deal with your technical aptitude, which you prepare for in the classroom, and then just how you work in teams, how you work with others, and what you would contribute to the organization, how you behave in certain environments. So we talk to you about that. Recruiting in a virtual environment. This is a new workshop. Students are now interviewing like this. So how does a human come through? How do you prepare and make sure that you're engaging, making eye contact, that you have your notes in a place so that you can easily answer questions? We found, and we've told students this, that in virtual environment, you almost have a little extra edge because you can have things around you. When you're in a traditional interview, you might not want to open up your leather bill in front of them and look up things. So there's a way that you can actually use this to your advantage. And of course, you always want to have your video on because you want to make sure that you're a human on the other side. Evaluating job offers. So this is a very good problem for our students to have. You will get multiple job offers. And how do you look at this? Is it all about the salary? Are you interested in even further degrees? What are benefits? How do you begin to look at this? And also, how do you negotiate? How do you negotiate respectfully? How do you do this honestly? Also realizing that a number of the corporate partners speak to one another. So realizing that there is an understanding of also what they might be offering. So we talk about this whole process in these workshops. Curricular practical training, I'm kind of jumping around a bit. This is a way for our F1 students to engage in internships after they've completed 2 academic semesters at the university. So what is curricular practical training? What offices do you have to go to? What forms do you have to fill out? What rules? And it sounds daunting, but there's really a checklist. There's a flow of who you need to go to, when you need to do this, what classes you need to sign up for. So we highly recommend that you don't wait until you get the job, that you start going to these sessions so you realize the flow and how to actually engage in an internship when you're an F1 student. And finally, we have a very large number of international students at the university. We're a very global community. We're very lucky to have such a diverse set of students. And so there are resources and tips that we share for our students. We know that our students from Brazil have different experiences from recruiting in Brazil than they might have in the US. Our students from India might have a different experience, students from China. And also you are recruiting with companies from around the world. So things that you need to be mindful of. When you meet with someone from Amazon, where are you located? Oh, I assume you're here, but you're there. Someone could be hiring from Yahoo. We have a lot of hiring from Yahoo in Bangalore. Knowing that you're not speaking to someone who you thought was in the Silicon Valley, this is important. So it's part of the getting to know you, this really global environment for hiring. Next slide.
Okay, I'm trying to.
Thanks, Suda. You're a good driver.
I know, but it's not a little. Okay, there we go.
Perfect. So Trojan Talks, these are so now I'm highlighting events where a student and an employer are together. So the events I spoke about earlier were about students meeting with our team. Students and employers, this is what you guys are looking for. Where can I get in front of my company? So Trojan Talks, these are the information sessions. These are held by companies offered Monday through Thursday from 5 to 8. A wonderful way to learn about a company and also to network afterwards. So this is an event you'd have your resume. One thing I do want to say is that a number of our companies hold these information sessions to share hiring patterns that they have, maybe in disciplines that you don't know. So for example, we years ago had Hewlett Packard, and they were doing a lot of hiring for biomedical engineers. And so they would hold these sessions. And so it would be a number of electrical engineers and computer scientists. They're like, no, we're hiring hundreds of BME students. We want biomedical engineers because we are working with medical devices right now. And so they had this whole plan and strategy. It was part of their information session. And it was really important for a biomedical engineer to go to that session and hear and learn about why they were being targeted by an organization. So you might think you know who a company is hiring for, but you might not know their plan. You might not know what's in the pipeline. So these Trojan Talks actually have a highlight of which discipline areas should attend and where you should be in your degree program. So it's not a guessing game. If you see that, oh, this is so interesting that civil engineers are being asked to go to a Facebook session, I'm not sure why. Go to the session. They'll explain. They'll let you know. Just like the workshops that we host as a school, there are a number of professional development workshops hosted by the companies. So they too will host the same types of workshops that I spoke about in the last slide. They also have their workshops separated into two sections. They can be open forums. So it's almost like this, a panel, a presentation, and they do a Q&A afterwards. They also have these lab sessions. So these are more interactive sessions. This could be them working with you one-on-one on a cover letter or resume. It could be more of navigating the recruitment culture. So it's a smaller group of students, and we would let you know which one, and you would sign up accordingly. There's also something called the How to Get Hired series. It's a 4-day event. It's where students are working with employers on professional development skills. You go to presentations, professional development workshops held by your employers. You have online demos of the resources that are available to you. There are a number of signature events. You're networking. It is an amazing event. So How to Get Hired was 2 or 3 weeks ago for the fall semester. So this is an event that a number of our engineering students enjoy. Next slide. Networking. I say this a lot. Networking, networking, networking. This is a chance for you to get in front of a company, have conversations. There might be food involved. It could be a smaller networking event. It might be a luncheon. It might be a tea. You never know. But these networking opportunities are really a way for you to connect with a company. And so going to a workshop on how to network is important. But actually going to the events is key. So we actually have upcoming this month, October 5th, we have our networking events for our graduate students, our master students specifically. Then on October 12th, we have an event for bachelor's and PhD students. And so go to these events, have the conversation, have your resume. I guarantee you get better at these events with time. So you have to do the first one at some point. You might as well just do the first one early. And then you start going through this. And by internship phase, you would have gone to maybe 6 of these events. And so you're feeling really confident. You know how to speak to one of these employers or alumni, or whoever is there. So the networking is key. And just as a side note, networking is everywhere. So if this were an in-person event, you would want to network with our alumni. You would want to network with me. You would want to network with Sudha Kumar. All of us are part of your network. We all know employers. We all know companies. We all have tips. We know this process. So you network everywhere. You network with your faculty members. You network with your peers. When you graduate, you will be networking with your friends because they're working for companies that you might be thinking about transitioning to. And they might call you and say, hey, I've been wanting to work for Amazon. What do you recommend? The networking never stops. So get started with it as soon as you begin. We also have something called Viterbi Treks. These are actual on-site visits that are typically during spring break. We will be expanding this during Thanksgiving and right before the holiday break. You get to visit an actual company. They give you demos. You go on a tour. It's usually in the LA area, but we're going to be expanding that to the Silicon Valley and to the Seattle area as well. So this is a great way for you to actually physically be in a company space and see if they're a fit for you. So these are paused for a bit during the pandemic, but we're hoping that this comes back as soon as people are back in their offices and we're not all at home. Next slide, please.
Okay.
And I think this is my final slide on just some of the readiness events that we have available. So mock interviews, this is amazing. We have such gracious employers and alumni that have agreed to conduct mock interviews, which is they sit in a room, they interview a student, and then at the end, they spend 10 minutes talking to the student about ways they could have improved on their interview. So it is not a real interview. I mean, it is a real interview, but they're not interviewing to hire. They're interviewing to give you feedback, to prepare you for those real interviews. So these are very, very valuable events. They will ask you a mix of technical and behavioral questions. We have some of our employers say, I just want to give a case study because that's what my company does. We literally give you a test and then we call you back for a second interview. So depending on how they hire is how the mock interview is conducted. These are really valuable because you're hearing from people who do this and they're telling you things you need to improve. So it's all a teachable moment. We also host these interviews, now these are the real ones, real on-campus interviews for our students. So we have a suite on campus where we have interview spaces where you can come running between classes. I know our alum can tell you, you will be in a suit in your lectures and then you'll run in your suit to the suite to conduct an interview. It happens all the time. You might be going to the Career Center for an interview. You nowadays are interviewing like this. So you want to make sure you get into a quiet room. You have your headphones, your lighting is good. You look good from the waist up. So it really, it's changing, but these interviews are really why our students, this is it. This is why you go through all of these workshops. Monday through Friday, used to be 9 to 5, it's now 7 to 7 where you're going through these sessions. So here's a career plan for our undergraduate students. We can maybe move through this one since you said we have a number of our graduate students, but there is a career plan. I won't go into details here, but there's a checklist. And I think one of the big takeaways here is most students don't start to look until their second year because they think, oh, I'm too new here. It's my first semester. You have a lot more things to do first year than you think. This is when you prepare. This is when you connect. This is when you interview. And yes, if you're interested in CPT, you will begin your interviews earlier than you think. If you start a traditional program in fall and you're interning that first summer semester, companies are hiring as soon as October. So you could be 2 months into your program getting hired for your internship, or it might be in February when we have a fair or other events. That could be when your internship hiring is taking place. Now, I do have to share a number of our full-time opportunities do happen in the fall. It happens throughout the year, but companies will come and share with us. They have their recs. They know how many positions they need to hire for. USC is a keystone school for them. They know that they want to hire around 100 students from USC, and they want to check this off before the holiday season. They tell you this. So when they come to campus in October, they're coming with a purpose. And they want to leave with the 100 students that they want to give offers to before Thanksgiving break. And they'll come back in the spring and do the same thing. Spring might be more of their mindset for internship because maybe they want you to take a few more classes and get that under your belt. But they come with a plan, and it's never too early to start connecting. And then the next slide is really for our PhD students. A number of our PhD students actually do go into industry, but it's more of a conversation. They go into research and development. Some of our PhD students don't realize. So it's more of a letter, it's more of a conversation, this plan, because the PhD student, we've found more of our PhD students actually end up going into industry. It's attractive. The companies are knocking. Research and development is ongoing in the tech space. So there was this assumption that when you're a PhD student, you are going into academia, you're going to be a faculty member, you're going to run a lab at a university. That's not necessarily the case. So once you figure out your path, and sometimes it takes a few years as a PhD student to figure that out, then you might connect with the office and say, I'm really leaning towards doing research for an organization like Google, or I'm looking at doing research for Amazon. They're really aligning with some of the work that I'm doing. I've been approached by the recruiters. I didn't even think I was going to leave academia. Well, what do I do? And so that's where you start having these one-on-one advising conversations. If you feel comfortable, you have those conversations as well with your faculty advisor. Some students don't. They just want to have that side, and it's fine. This is your journey, and this office is here to help you in your journey, whether you are a freshman undergraduate student or you're a PhD student who's about to finish you're about to go through your final phases. So that is my long ramble. I tried to go a little Southern California fast for you, Sudha. I'm sorry.
No problem. We are very happy to hear your perspective. Here, this particular slide with all the beautiful ladies over there.
I know. We have a very talented team, and I know that our alum know these faces. Every one of these individuals is completely dedicated to our engineering students. Right now, I'm just in this virtual space since our students are all around the world. They are advising from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. They are on all the time. I am so lucky, and the students are so lucky, and the employers are so lucky to have such a dedicated team in the School of Engineering. So I had to share their faces because you have them waiting for you when you get to USC.
Yeah, wonderful. And Candace, we have students from pretty much all the various departments. I don't think we have anybody in the audience for astronautical right now. Definitely for mechanical engineering, biomed, chemical, civil, computer science, electrical engineering, industrial, so engineering management, for example. So at some point, we'd like some comments from you about each of these departments and the kinds of careers that they can expect whenever. So we will come back to the slide in just a little bit. We'll just go ahead and get all the questions at this point.
Okay.
Right. Let me stop sharing for now. Okay. All right. So the first question. Before we go to the questions, actually, what I would like is for our other panelists, Harshita and Shashank, to talk a little bit about how they found their internships. So Harshita, you want to tell us where did you do your internship? What was your internship? How did you get it? Was it a paid internship? What is typical?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, like some of the things that Candace mentioned are extremely helpful, and one of the things that I would like to point out was really helpful for me was being part of the local chapters at USC. So I was part of Women in Engineering, and that gave me a sense of, like, I guess, understanding of what's happening around campus. And one of the events that I was really looking forward to was Grace Hopper Conference. USC gave me a scholarship to go to Grace Hopper Conference, and that was an amazing experience for me. That was that's where I found my internship, and that just changed the way I was like looking forward towards these conferences. Like, this is one of the experience that I'm super grateful that USC gave me a chance to like go there. And my internship was a paid internship. So I was actually hired in October itself for the next year of summer. So it's way early. And I was relieved. I already found the internship, so I could focus on the studies for the next 2 semesters. And my internship experience experience was amazing. USC also provides a plan before you do the internship on how to write the internship experience, because we need to submit that as well as a part of our internship credit, the credit for the internship. Yeah, after the internship, it was a pretty smooth experience because OIS is one of the other things that students need to be in touch with, because for international students, there are little bit different formalities needs to be done when you are doing an internship. So that is something else I would say, that like be a part of the sessions that they hold on to campus, because that would give you like more valuable experience. Yeah, and then Ellington provides the full-time experience in the last year of internships. I was lucky in that sense that I had an idea after completing my internship.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. What about you, Shashank? Where did you do your internship? I think you mentioned Apple, though. Yeah, but please tell us more about it.
Yeah, so I did my internship at Apple. The specific team was the Special Projects Group, which is the research wing for Apple. About getting the internship, I attended this on-campus event which Apple has for every semester at USC. So I attended one of those on-campus events where I was selected for an interview. I did an on-campus interview with one of the product managers. It was an hour-long interview for the internship. And then after getting selected to that, the team contacted me after a few weeks through online mediums, and I interviewed there through online sessions. And yeah, then I got an offer to join them during my summer of 2019. The work was really good. I worked in research with robotics and different systems. It was a really good experience meeting smart people there and understanding a lot about how things work in industry. During the internship, we also go through a course, which is an internship course, which helps you understand the basic dynamics which USC provides. And that is really helpful while going through that. So that was really helpful and a wonderful experience interning with Apple. Yeah.
Okay, so both of you had paid internships, right? And Candice, is that fairly typical of our students?
Absolutely. So for last year, summer 2020, the average hourly wage for our graduate students that were doing CPT was $48 an hour. So they're getting paid, and that's on average what our students were making this summer 2020.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so going back to Harshita, tell us about your job search. How did that go? And I guess you moved from your internship to your final job.
Yeah. So, starting from for the job search as such, like since the internship got converted, that was pretty, like I was pretty happy with the company. So I didn't do any active job search after the internship, but I could like talk more about the internship search itself. Like as soon as I joined the campus, I was in touch with some of the alumni of the USC. I knew what the process is, and the career fair is as soon as you start. I started in August 2016, and the career fair was end of September, I believe. So it's just on there. So I think being prepared and being informed about things is key when you join, like I guess, university with so many students, that you have to be prepared on what you actually want to go for, because in the career fair itself there are so many companies that you have to have a list of companies that you actually want to go for, because I'm sure you can't go for all the companies. There are so many and the line is so huge. So I think being more planned and being prepared, starting from the first semester itself, I started applying and prepping meanwhile. So that really helped me in finding the internship. And if you have the internship, like some of the companies offer the full time then and there itself, like for me that happened. So it was pretty easy for me.
Okay, great. And how about you, Shashank?
So I definitely second Harshita's point regarding internships. So as soon as you enter the campus, it's time for you to attend the sessions, as Candice mentioned, and it's time to go from that point itself. I remember I interviewed in the starting 2 months, or maybe it was a month when I entered the campus, and there were a lot of companies coming in for internships, and there were events, and we started interviewing with them. So that is definitely there. And regarding job search, Career Fair is definitely the best platform to meet a lot of companies and understand what are they offering, have a face-to-face conversation with them, maybe get an interview right there on campus, or have a casual conversation with you. Some of the companies hold technical sessions right there itself in the Career Fair. So you can talk with them and understand what they're working on and what are you interested in, and they can gauge you accordingly, and you can furthermore go through the process. While talking about my experience, I attended the career fairs, and definitely I interviewed with different companies right there on campus, and it was a helpful experience. And you can just count any company that you can think of, and you can find that at USC. Regarding my Amazon offer, I did that completely online. I started with the online assessment processes. So I applied online through the company website, and then there are online rounds, online assessments, which includes technical coding sessions and everything. And once you're through with that, you have video session interviews with technical managers and engineers in the company and in the team. So it went through that, and I got an offer from Amazon like that.
Okay. So I hear that there are a lot of USC students at Amazon. Is that correct?
Yes, definitely. There are a lot of students whom I knew through campus, and they are here at Amazon. That is definitely a very good experience working with your friends. Although during these times we cannot go to office, but definitely you can chat in the intercommunication channel.
Yeah.
And this past summer, just to add, they were the highest employer for internships. So we had around 270 students of our graduate engineering students that worked with Amazon this summer as interns.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, a lot of my friends interned with Amazon.
Okay. So Candice, what are the top companies that hire from USC Viterbi?
Oh, we have so many. I'll focus on our top internship companies because that we know. When you intern and you're doing curricular practical training, we have all that information. When you find your full-time job, there's a survey, and I always plug it. It's the First Destination Survey. It is where we know how we figure out where you go. So we're not a placement office. And so we always ask, and I ask even now before you start to complete that survey because it helps us in these conversations. But in terms of our internship data, that is real. The N is large because everyone has to let us know. So the top 10 companies for interning as a curricular practical training student, graduate level, it's Amazon, Facebook, Google, Salesforce, Goldman Sachs, Qualcomm, Apple, VMware, Microsoft Corporation, Intuit, Adobe, MathWorks, Intel Corporation, Too Simple, ByteDance, NVIDIA, Cisco, and LinkedIn. So those are the top employers that we had for our interns this past summer. In no particular order, all of them are very important to the university.
I can understand that.
But the interns, I do have to say, the companies that hire for interns typically also hire in large numbers for our full-time positions as well. And so there are some disciplines I realize just by sheer numbers aren't listed here, but we do have a number of petroleum and energy companies like Chevron and Exxon. Walmart is a huge recruiter of ISE students. I know that MathWorks, I don't know if they were listed. I mean, there are some companies that you might not see on the internship side that do a good amount of full-time hiring. Clark Construction, a lot of the civil firms, heavy hiring, but it's a smaller department, so you might not see them in our top 10 numbers, but they are just as important, and they hire a good amount of students.
Right. Okay, so we'll go to the questions that we've received so far. So the first one goes to you, Candice. From which semester can an international student start looking for an internship, given they start in fall 21? So if they start in fall 21, when can they go for an internship? And how has the COVID-19 impacted internship and job market in LA? Are we looking at a recession?
That's a lot. Okay. One is a crystal ball question, which is the future. We'll talk about that, which I don't have that power yet, but if I did, I'd be a very wealthy woman. But we'll talk about when you could get started with internships. So you do have to have 2 full academic semesters as an F1 student. So if you start in fall 2021 and then spring 2022 comes, then that summer, you would be able to participate in your internship. So that academic standing as an F1 student, as a full-time enrolled student is important. That is needed for you to engage in CPT. There are many nuances for CPT, which is why that workshop is important. We partner closely with our Office of International Services to make sure that everyone is in compliance. But the big piece here is CPT is also about curricular practical training. So this needs to be in line with what you're studying. Now, luckily, as an engineer, there is a lot of fluidity in terms of what you're studying and where you can work. But that is something I always have to remind people because there is a reason why our students are here. They're here to study. So anything that you're doing on the internship piece needs to be an added benefit to what you're studying at USC. And so that happens to be the case for all of our students. But I do mention that that is a nuance that our students need to be mindful of. Now, in terms of the COVID-19, as of now, so we went fully remote as a university in March. And so we had students still recruiting and hiring. Our companies made the shift virtual. They were still hiring and meeting with students. Our students were still getting internships, and they just had to do this in a virtual environment. Now, this is our very first academic year, fall, that we're beginning in this virtual space. We still had over 100 companies at our career fair. We still have the connections happening. But in terms of a future recession, that is something that I can't even speak to. I don't think any of our employers can. It's unknown. And so what we're trying to do is be conservative, keep the connections going. That should never stop your job search. I've been with the university, I won't say how long, but a very long time. And we've had 2 economic downturns since I've been there, and both times I was connected with the Career Connections office, then Career Services, and we made it, and the students still found jobs. Was it as easy? No, but you just have to maybe go on a few more interviews. You might need to go to more websites in addition to our events, but they were able to do it. So I don't know if that's going to happen in the future, but if it does, I think that in the past we've been really resilient. Our students have been resilient, and the companies have still hired. So I would say you still go through the process, whether there's an economic downturn or not.
Right. And, one thing that I always notice is if there's an economic downturn, it's a great time to actually go study and use that time to improve your skill set and then look for a job. And then again, if you're looking for a job, choosing a university that has really, really strong career services would definitely be a very important thing to look at, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the next question, Harshita, I'll ask you this to handle this. How do you make a resume stand out in an online application?
So that's a really interesting question. I feel one of the things that I really feel strongly about is having like a clear description of what you are writing, as in having a clarity in your mind when someone asks you questions about that. Like I've seen resumes with a lot of different technologies, a lot of like you might not be strong in all of them, and just having it out there does not increase the chances. So I would suggest having the skills and experience that you truly believe in would provide value when you're talking to the employers. Another thing that I also feel really helps is showing what you have done outside of your academia. Like I think hackathons and some of these projects that show your interest in the subject really helps, because whenever I have been to the career fair, I think those are the most questions I've been asked about when I've written about a hackathon I have participated in, or I have written a project that I did as a part of some of the events. So recruiters are more interested in some of the things that you do outside of what is provided, uh, like as an interest, showing that you're really interested in this field and you're trying to do something more. So I would say that in order to like I guess be different than others, you must try to show off things that you have done apart from like the regular academia work or the general things that everyone does.
Fantastic. Next question to Shashank. Shashank, did you do any on-campus jobs while you were at USC?
Yeah, so
So we'd like to know, what is the scenario of on-campus jobs?
Yeah, so the scenario of on-campus jobs is mostly online, where you apply to these on-campus jobs. There are different departments across the university. These might be technical or non-technical jobs, and that completely depends on your interest. Some people like doing technical jobs along with their regular studies to improve their knowledge. Some just wanted some time to heat off and relax from the studies. So there are a mix of jobs. I joined the USC networking lab, where I was working as a system administrator to understand the networks. And the applications are completely online. So we have a portal named as Connect SC, where you can apply for all these on-campus jobs. And once you get selected through your on-campus resume, you get called in by the manager, you talk to them, and you can get the job easily. But the golden rule here is to apply early, because these jobs open every semester during the first few weeks. And you apply to them, and you can even talk to your seniors, the students who are already there working. They can help you figure out which kind of job you want to do.
Okay. And, what was the salary like, Shashank, for an on-campus job?
So on-campus jobs, there will be a basic standard salary, in which you state you are living in. So we are in California, so a standard rate of $14.25 per hour will be given to you. Along with that, there are some other on-campus jobs which provide you more according to the job position that you are working on. But the basic salary will be definitely set, and it depends on what you want to do, and there are different positions with different salary parameters.
And of course, there's a limit on the number of hours that you can work.
Yes. Yeah, so there is a limit that you can work only 20 hours in a week on an on-campus job, nothing more than that, according to your visa regulations.
Okay. So the next question for Harshita. What challenges does an international student have to face to get a job?
I think as an international student, I think being aware of the restrictions is the most important thing that I would say is important. Like I think not being aware would like lead to some challenges that I guess when you apply for internship, you might not be eligible for some of the internship because of your visa. Some of the companies sponsor visa. So I think having applying to internships which do the visa sponsorship would make your full-time job much easier than applying to a company which would give you the internship, but they wouldn't convert you to the full-time job experience because of the visa regulation. So having a sense of what is required and what is not required is really important, and that's where the workshops that OIS hosts are really important. One of the other things that I would also say is there are so many scams happening for international school students specifically. I think those are also we are made aware of during our orientation as well as in the OIS workshops that I think students needs to focus on and be aware of, that what information they need to provide, what information they don't need to provide. Other than that, I would say like because we are especially for computer science, international students do not have so many like limitations. There's so many different job options. So like our branch has like that leverage in terms of other branches, that there are so many employers looking for international, like they don't have a regulation on the visa sponsorship. So I wouldn't focus too much on that part, but more being aware of what regulations you are in and having a sense of it.
Okay. Candace, do you want to add something to this about international students? How do we ensure that F1 students have sufficient job openings? Yeah, any other comments that you might have?
Well, I think what one piece that I think students learn is that we're, at least from the office standpoint, very transparent when a company says, I am willing to sponsor a student and I'm willing not to, we're unable to as an organization. And so what's happened is, I know early on, and this happened years ago, there would be students who would try to have a conversation to maybe convince a company that, no, I am amazing, I am talented, give me the opportunity. And I think Harshita hit that very well, because it's not about you. It's not about your technical space. They might be working on a government project and they just have this regulation that even a permanent resident is not someone they could hire, that you must be a US citizen. And it could just be the project they're working on. And so I've witnessed students have those kind of conversations where there are hundreds of other companies that are also hiring. So I say, focus your attention on the companies that have said, it doesn't matter. For us, if you are an F1 student, if you're a J1 student, if you are a US citizen, permanent resident, those are the companies that you want to talk to. I do know that it is difficult for some students who are maybe in astronautical engineering. There are some disciplines where it's very heavy, aerospace and defense, and they might have a lot of government contract positions. Those disciplines have a little bit more difficulty. But a number of companies like Facebook, like Walmart, like Waymo, they hire all engineering disciplines because they were looking for a mindset. They're looking for the engineering type of logic. So even if you're an astronautical engineer, Facebook might hire you because you think a certain way. Now, you might not be doing the type of work you trained for as an astronautical engineer, but you would still be able to find that opportunity. But computer science students, our electrical engineering students, most of those companies are hiring our F1 students. It could be a challenge for students who are in disciplines that are traditionally for aerospace and defense, heavy US government contractors.
Okay, that's wonderful. So the next question is, okay, this is kind of a tough one, and I'm going to ask you, Shashank, and I'm not, okay. So what should a student choose between a high reputed company and less CTC? Shashank would understand what the CTC is, or a not reputed company, but more CTC. Do you know what that is, Candace? Okay, but Shashank would. It's the package. It's the salary package. So, yeah.
Yeah, so a nice question. So CTC essentially a cost to company, what finally that you are getting out as in financial terms that we are talking about. So yeah, a very good question. When you are looking into the decision of whether I should go with a higher package or I should go with a place where I'm working, where I like to work, or the things that I will be working on and I'm interested in, definitely my golden advice will be to think in a longer term. Things really look really bright and shiny in a shorter view side, but definitely once you start working and you enter a full-time job, it takes up a lot of time in your life. And if you do not like what you're doing, even if the CTC is really big, it will not stretch for a longer time and you'll start degrading. So definitely look for things that you like. And at USC, once you enter, you study, you will definitely see a lot of things. You will experiment with a lot of new studies, projects, resources, courses, and you'll understand what you like working on. And then you can finally see the opportunities and then go in a field where you like. Talking about packages, I'm pretty sure the things that you will work on, At the end of the day, you will reach that figure in your mind, the package, the CTC figure that you are looking for. Today or 1-2 days later, you will get there. But it's important to work what you like, and you will definitely grow in that. So I'd recommend to do that.
That's a fantastic answer, Shashank, and I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
The next question is again for Harshita. Harshita, how has the coursework at USC prepared you for a job? You know, do you feel at the end of by the time you graduate that you are ready for a job? And are you able to perform well?
Yeah, certainly. I think it's important to pay more attention while you are choosing courses. Even if, like for example, my specialization, I don't have a specialization, but I chose the courses which I truly believed in would provide value to what I'm looking for. And the course itself is there are multiple parts to it, I would say. The course comes along with the project work as well as we have professors to work with. So if there's a course you like really like, I would say that focus on what project you are doing in that coursework, because that is the key part that will help you prepare for the job. Because in a project you are working with teammates from other, like they have different work habits, I would say, how you coordinate, how you work with them. And then you nothing is clear when you are working on something new. So how you figure that part out, and how do you reach to TAs and things like that. I think those are the things that help you prepare for the work setting. And in terms of knowledge, it's how much you really like to put in, I think you would get out of it. So the course is just laying the basic foundations, and you have to make more effort in order to get the most out of it. So talk to the professors if there's something that you really like. I think the professors and the TAs are super helpful. So I think it's like if 50% about the coursework and 50% of the effort that you put in would help you prepare for the job. I would say that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Candice, the next question is for you. Is it difficult to find an internship if we start in the spring semester? So since all the audience is international students and it is an issue, maybe you can address it. And also, how do spring start students get internships?
The getting of internship is very similar. It's just when you would start would be a little different. There's a few things there. So this is where the pandemic could work in your favor. And also just being on campus, being in Los Angeles is opens up opportunities for you outside of summer. So I realize that throughout the presentation, we speak of summer internship. Students also participate in internships during the fall and spring semesters. Because we're located in Los Angeles, a good number of our companies are here as well. So you are able to engage that way. Now, what's interesting is we have a good number of students doing internships during the fall semester because they're working remotely. So they still have a certain number of hours that you can engage in your internship opportunity. You can't go over the 20 hours, but you're able to still work while enrolled as a student. So you could start your internship during what would be considered an academic year. Traditionally, when students start in fall, they start during the summer, but you could start your internship after you finish your 2 full semesters, academic semesters as an F1 student, that spring semester after you've started. Assuming you start in spring, I'm sorry, I'm saying lots of semesters, but if you start in spring, you'd go your 2 academic semesters, and then you could start a spring internship. And if we're still working virtually, or if now companies are more open to that and the university allows for you to do that, you can. The university allows for F1 students at this point, because of the pandemic, to engage in virtual internships. That used to not be the case, but that was an adjustment that was made for our students during this time. I don't know what that might look like in spring 2022, but you are also in Los Angeles. So a lot of the dream companies that you are talking about have offices in the LA area. You could work for them physically if we're back to that space, while you're also taking traditional classes on campus. You're still enrolled. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no. Shashank, no, it's great. Shashank, how about the location? Candace was just talking about location. In your experience, how has location been an advantage to USC students? Apart from the location, the other part I wanted to talk about was the alumni network and whether both these factors helped at all.
Yeah, definitely. So to understand location, how that plays during when you're finding internships or full-time jobs, uh, companies do look for when you are applying and how easy it is for them to reach you and you to reach them during the interview process. So location definitely gives you an advantage when you are on the West Coast. So Silicon Valley is in California. You are on the West Coast and you are practically right there next to all the companies that you're looking for as your dream company. So when you apply for these jobs or internships, you are very easily accessible. Also, these companies are easily accessible by coming to your university or holding sessions or workshops. So location gives you a big advantage apart from in comparison to if you are located in other parts of the country where the companies are not actually located. When you talk about alumni network is definitely very strong, and it is wide known, not even just at USC, but other universities also recognize USC Alumni Network a lot because in my last semester, I heard a lot about from other students from other university, and they talk about how strong USC Alumni Network is. So all the alumni who are working in any of the companies that you can name, you can connect with them through the alumni portal. So USC provides you a different portal, which is the alumni network, in which you get registered, and there you can connect with any of the people, starting from engineers to senior engineers and even principal engineers and directors of different companies of different regions that you are looking to get employed in. So that is a wonderful resource to get connected, and there's always a Trojan feeling between you because you both are Trojans for life now, and you connect with them, you network with them. And as Candace defined before, network really helps here. You have to network with people, and that helps you in a longer way. So alumni network is one of the key arrows in your bag. So definitely that's a good resource.
Wonderful. Harshita, how about the faculty? Do they help students find jobs as well?
So I think I would definitely say that like faculty in my experience are super helpful. So I would share a story that I was taking this AI class, and Professor Sheila Thaheda was my professor, and I just happened to have a small conversation with her about like my interest in like doing something for women in tech, and she was actually the local lead for women in tech at USC, as well as local region LA for sisters. She helped me figure out things that I needed to do in order to be a participant in that. So I really feel the same for other professors. Like another professor that I did talk to still is in touch with me. So I feel like it's the connection that you make with the professors, and if they feel that you are really interested in it, in the subject or in the field that you are like taking part in, then they would guide you to the right path. So like definitely a plus one to the professors, and the way they take interest in like things that you talk about is commendable, and I would definitely recommend students to have a chat with the professors and like show what you're interested in, and they can help you figure out things.
Okay, wonderful. So the next question is specific to mechanical engineering. So Candace, perhaps you can take this question. They want to know, do mechanical engineers even find jobs?
I'm not laughing, but yes, our mechanical engineers find jobs. I just at past career fair alone, I know MathWorks, Facebook, Waymo. I'm just naming companies that I know were hiring mechanical engineers that were F1 students. So yes, our mechanical engineers do find jobs. They're definitely, it's not an area that I would say there's difficulty, but you also want to know what type of work you might want to do in mechanical, and you might not think as a mechanical engineer you would work for Facebook. So, but they're hiring for you. So that is, again, why you should go to a Trojan Talk, find out if that type of industry and if that company is a fit for you. So yes, mechanical engineers find jobs.
And the follow-up to that question is, do they get enough salaries?
Yes, I'll say yes to that. I highly recommend if salary is a driving point for you. One, I don't believe it should be, but that's a whole other conversation because that's just one piece of the package. There's other things you need to look at in trying to evaluate a job offer. But if you are not visiting Glassdoor to look at salaries, that is an aggregate in the US where it is based off of all of the postings that companies post. They have all of the data for entry level to senior level salary information. It's based on location. So if you're in New York, San Francisco, or LA, the salaries would be a bit higher than other locations. The Glassdoor data is really good. And it's an aggregate. So I would recommend that if you're curious about salaries, you could literally type in where you get your degree from, what's the level of degree, type in different institutions. Glassdoor is a really good resource for you.
Okay, very good. The next question is, I currently work with an undergraduate. I have an undergraduate degree and I currently work. Is it even necessary for me to do a master's degree? Is it important for me to study? Shashank, what do you say?
So definitely, this is first of all, this is a personal gauging question where you want to understand what you are working on, what have you studied in undergraduate, what you're working on, and what are your aspirations, what are you looking forward to be in the next couple of years. So taking a decision to do masters is completely dependent on what have you studied. And if the things that you're working on, does that need a specialization or you're lacking knowledge according to the industry standard? So if you talk about certain fields, those fields, so there are certain fields that are so much evolving and developing over the days that you need to have a specialization so that you can perform and you can provide or contribute to the projects that you're working on. If that is the case, then definitely masters is a choice that you should look into, and to get that specialization, to get that extra armor in your package when you want to go further and excel in your career. Apart from that, also there are fields where I see that I have a couple of friends who studied computer science or different fields in their undergraduate. And undergraduate education is up to a limit, and after that also you need some more in-depth knowledge about certain topics. Or you want to go and work for some research companies, and for working for those research companies, you definitely need that in-depth knowledge. And masters is the way to get into that environment and get that knowledge and further advance your career. Also, let's not forget the environment that you get once you enter one of the universities to do your master's. As Sudha and Candace mentioned before, the mixed, diverse environment that you're getting and working with different kind of people, it kind of opens up a new dimension for you. It helps you think in a different way, in a different perspective, and you definitely think more about what you want to do and what kind of career you want to build for your own self.
Okay, wonderful. Candace, the next question is for you. What are the key skills for a civil engineer to get a job in the US? And do civil engineering companies come and recruit at USC?
Yes, a number of civil engineering companies come and recruit at USC. The Stani department, which is our civil engineering department, that's something I didn't mention before, actually. A number of our academic departments host their own career events, in addition to the events that we have at the Engineering Career Center. So they have their own civil-based or CS-based networking events where their alum will come and hire, and they'll do senior poster boards and showcases. All of those types of events are also ways to get hired. So just a side note, civil does a lot of that. In terms of skills, our civil engineering students tend to get the skills that they need in the classroom. Actually, that would be for all of our students. But project management is key. Making sure that you are able to work in teams and understanding all of the different facets that are needed in civil engineering. You'll notice that when you look at the civil engineering curriculum, there is a mix of a course. Project management is a big piece. But if you also want to make sure that you're understanding the accounting, the financial, projects and bidding, all of that is part of that. But take a look at the program itself. It is designed, the curriculum that we have on our websites, so that you have the skill set that you need to get the type of job that you want. If you don't go to USC, that's fine, but look at some of the courses that are part of maybe our master's program. Those courses are really designed to make sure that you leave ready to be a leader in the area. You're able to become a higher level person at Jacobs or Clark Construction or wherever you end up working.
Right. Okay. Next question is again to you, Candice. Are there co-op opportunities for students? Does USC allow students to do a co-op versus a summer-internship?
Yes, we do allow for co-op, but in all frankness, it is difficult for our international student population. Because our international students, as an F1 student, you need to be on campus. And traditionally with a co-op, you are not attending traditional classes, you are working full-time for an organization at some point. So that is not a typical type of program for an F1 student in the United States. It's not a USC thing that is typical for an F1 student. But do we offer co-op? Yes, but typically our F1 students are engaging in internships and not co-op. Co-op usually is from summer through fall or from spring through summer. You are working full time for a company with little to no academic engagement. That is not what CPT is, which is needed for an internship. So it's available, but it's not an option that I've known of an F1 student to take advantage of.
Right. Harshita, did you want to comment on the co-op also?
So I know that for certain cases, you are eligible for co-op. When you have, like for spring semester, if you have done all your courses and you have only credits left, I think for like last semester you can do a co-op, but that definitely, as Candice mentions, need permissions. And if you have I guess you need to clear that your all courses are completed, and that's only the 2 credits left. And this was, I think, in the last semester of your like graduation year, so last semester. Yep.
But I do need to add, that's not co-op, that's an internship. Because co-op would be that extended contract with a company for a 2-year period. So it's a nomenclature thing. Yes, okay, that is an option, but that is not co-op. Co-op really is for 2 semesters. You are fully engaged in a work opportunity that's usually more than 20 hours, which is and so yes, you can. But it would be an internship. That wouldn't be co-op. Okay. Just to jump in. Sorry.
Yeah. No. Got it. Thank you.
Okay. So the next question is engineering management. What kind of jobs do students with the engineering management background get?
I will take the lead. Engineering management is one of those areas.
Yes.
Yeah, no problem. So engineering management, you can go anywhere, honestly, because you usually are coming in with a technical background in any area. You could be a mechanical engineer, you could be an aerospace engineer, you could be a computer scientist, but you're now looking at managing engineering teams. So our engineering management students work everywhere. In addition to, I would throw in like our financial engineering students, they're also hired heavily for consulting firms, as well as companies like Goldman Sachs. But a number of our EM students do also work for Deloitte and Touche and, PwC and other traditional consulting firms, in addition to the engineering companies we've been talking about.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, it's very impressive, the kind of services that your office provides, Candice, and the kind of companies that come. And I think that's been a tradition of USC, where we like to keep our connections with companies alive. And to the credit of the students, our past students, they all go and perform well in those companies, which is the reason why the companies are coming back to hire our students over and over again. So, so it's a combination of being very, very well prepared in your coursework, and being very well prepared for the job search. I think both of these help our students a great deal. And along with that, we have the benefit of the location, which I think is huge. Let me see if we have any other questions that just came in through the chat site. Question for Shashank and Harshita. Is there anything you feel you could have done differently to make the most out of USC? So maybe Harshita, you want to go first?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I think for international students specifically, I think the as we are super into like job search and like making sure that we tick all the boxes that we are doing that. I think having fun is another part of the experience that I feel like is something really important. I would say that. I was definitely little like I guess worried about like how I would like start with the like new school, new place, new country, like so many different things. And I think having fun with like I think at that time is also important. I would say that adding that to also one of the things that you should focus on is really important. Other than that, I really love my experience at USC.
Okay, Shashank, how about you?
Yeah, I second Harshita's thought on having fun. That is definitely one of the key things that you need to have. And that is one of the experience that you'll not get once you graduate. So you need to enjoy the time that you are there at USC. It's a beautiful campus, and nearby there are a lot of things to look at. And one of the things that I think that I could have done differently is also one of the things is having more fun and not being worried all the time. And second thing that I think that I could have joined more of the student groups. I worked as an ambassador for the Viterbi Career Connections school, but also I thought that there are a lot of other student groups which are more fun activities. There are drama, there are dance, there are music groups. So I think I could have joined those more and had some more fun during those times. So that would have definitely. But apart from that, I had a wonderful time at USC, and definitely I miss that every time. Yeah.
I'm glad you had a good time there. Harshita, the next question is for you. What specialization had you taken in CS that helped you get an opportunity with both LinkedIn and Google?
So I didn't take any specialization. However, I did choose the courses that I felt like provided value to me on top of my undergrad education. So I didn't take the same subjects that I already had studied in undergrad. So there is a way to take advanced courses. You can waive off the requirements if you have already done the same courses, but you need to reach out to your academic advisors. So I did that as a part of while choosing my courses to get an understanding of like subjects that matter to me, and also would recommend to have a focus on the subjects that you take. Like I've seen students take all different kind of subjects with like just the focus on trying out how it looks. But I feel like doing like selecting those subjects wouldn't really give you an understanding of one particular domain. So have a clear picture on what you want to do by choosing the subjects which are relatively similar.
So I'll take one final question. Candace, this is for you. On an average, how many MS in CS students does Amazon and AWS combined hire each year?
Unfortunately, I don't know that. I'm sorry. In terms of, so we're not a placement office, so that's why that first destination survey is important. So I have some information, but I don't think it would be responsible to report. But they do hire heavily. Our students engage, they get jobs, but I don't have numbers to share for that question. Sorry.
That's right. So Shashank, since you are at Amazon, can you don't have to give me exact numbers because I know it'll be difficult for you as well, but can you throw some light on this?
Definitely. So there are two aspects with the internships and full-time jobs. So I know a lot of A lot of people intern at Amazon, and that is a very good experience for them. I don't have the numbers exactly, and regarding the full-time jobs, there's definitely a lot of people interview for Amazon, and a lot of them get offers from Amazon. There are no set numbers again, which I can think of or I have any access to. But yeah, a lot of my friends are here, and I see a lot of familiar faces. So yeah, there are a lot of people that Amazon is hiring. The interview process is definitely a bit rigorous, but I think USC sets a really good standard for all the students to come up to that standard once you are interviewing for companies like Amazon and every other good companies. So yeah.
Yeah. So just to clarify, what happens in the US in many of the engineering schools is that it's not mandatory for students to come back to a university and give all the details of where they were placed. So as a result, since this is a voluntary activity, and students tend to become very, very busy around the time that they get a job, that we typically don't get sufficient data. But what we do know is that Amazon is one of the top companies that hires at USC, and a substantial number of students go there. And I would think the numbers would be over 100, perhaps, at least, I would say, each year. Yeah. So next, I think we've come to the end. Candace, maybe I can just go back to our presentation for just a second. And I just want you to look at the various departments and kind of go through the kind of jobs that students get in each of these departments. We'll, okay, from here. Okay.
Okay. And when you say kind of jobs, Sudha, I'm not sure you're looking for positions or
No, just what are the kind of companies that come and recruit?
Okay.
Make some examples of some companies in each of these departments.
Okay. So I've shared a good number. So that long list that I kind of went through with the internship, I actually was hitting most of these departments here, but just to name a few. For aerospace and mechanical, there has been a lot of hiring, especially in mechanical with Facebook, which sounds interesting. Been really ramping their mechanical. Walmart, Frito-Lay. I mean, these are all Pepsi. Some very traditional manufacturing companies have been doing heavy hiring. Astronautical engineering, I would say this would be across the board in terms of for our F1 students. These are typically aerospace and defense. But this is where you will have individuals looking for people with that logic skill set, individuals being companies. So you would end up maybe interviewing with a Hewlett-Packard with an astronautical engineering background if you're an F1 student. Traditionally, that is very aerospace and defense, but we also have, SpaceX. I mean, they hire F1 students. So that is a partner. We have a lot of SpaceX alum. So that is an option as well. But again, government contract is something you need to think of with astronautical engineering. Biomedical engineering, there's companies like Amgen, Genentech that do hiring, Johnson & Johnson, chemical engineering, material science, Dow Chemical, Chevron, Exxon, British Petroleum, BP, Schlumberger, Civil and Environmental, Clark Construction, Jacobs, lots of city and county. The public sector hires heavily here, and the city and the county hire a lot of our F1 students. So this is very different. So sometimes our students will see a city of Los Angeles or county of Los Angeles and think, oh, that's government, they won't hire me. Our local and state government does a good amount of hiring of F1 students. When we say government contract, we're talking about Department of Defense type of contract. So it's very different. It doesn't mean you can't work for a government entity. Computer science, I think list was heavy computer science, yeah. ECE, industrial systems engineering. So engineering management is part of that. So that's the whole gamut. Also the manufacturing companies I listed earlier with mechanical engineering, as well as consulting firms. So Ernst & Young, Deloitte & Touche, all of them hire, Goldman Sachs. So all of that would fall within ISE. SAP, for those of you who are doing enterprise resource planning, all of that would be hired. Those companies would be hiring for our ISE students.
Okay, wonderful. That was impressive. You went through very, very quickly. So for some reason, my slides are not sharing very well, but
I can see
I
them.
just want you to know that we did a series called Careers at the Cutting Edge of Engineering, which were really very helpful. The link is given here. Please feel free to take a look. And if you go to each of those recordings that are available, you'll be able to see the companies that hire for those specific areas. So I'll kind of quickly scroll through just so you get an idea of what is over there, but feel free to go and look at those recordings. So for example, cybersecurity and biomedical engineering, there's a ton of data in those recordings. So please feel free to go through that. We've pretty much come to the end of our presentation, and I hope all of you enjoyed it. We do have a few other sessions coming up. October 5th, if you'd like to meet with our alumni from our ECE department, please join us on October 5th. On October 7th, meet our computer science alums. October 19th, engineering management. And then on October 27th, all the other programs. So if you are interested in, say, mechanical engineering or aerospace engineering, please join us on October 26th. But apart from that, we have, if you go to our website, uscengineer.com, you will find many, many different ways of connecting with us. So please connect with us through the various events that we have. There'll be many chat sites, chats that our staff will be having with prospective students. Please come and meet us there. You can write to me, Sudha Kumar at usc.edu. Very happy to get any further questions, and we look forward to you joining the USC community and participating in all the activities at USC. And you know, we always are very excited to see our alums and to see what successful individuals they have become. So many, many thanks to our two wonderful alums, Shashank and Harshita. You both did a great job. Thank you so much for coming on. I know it's a very busy time for both of you. And thank you, Candace, for doing such a great job of giving a summary of all the wonderful things that you guys do. So thank you to everybody. We appreciate you joining us this evening. And we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Thanks, Sudha. Thank you, Candace.
Thank you again, Shashank. Thank you, Harshita.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Okay. So goodbye, everybody. Good night.